classic bleeps, or do you mean like the TBS style where they put in like a different word?
I don't care. I would just say, and because number 4 really just says avoid profane language. I think it's unfortunate that something like that would cause such a controversy that people wouldn't get the real message that you're trying to say in your film.
Right.
And so what I'm saying is, okay, let's take the controversy out. Let's just make the content so that they really get what you're trying to say.
Okay, one thing that you just said right there is like, let's take the controversy out.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes some of the best media in this world is good because it is shocking and it does cause controversy.
That's true.
In that area. And like by doing that, by having that kind of censorship, like I can see the total point in saying like before you go into a film.
Yeah, I guess I would say this, based on an experience that we had, and I'll be very general about this because I love the individual who did it. I just think he made a mistake doing it. There was an individual who, in a playful way, in respelling things, had some people read in front of colloquy something that was the essence of cursing in the sanctuary for colloquy. That caused so much controversy. I never heard about what the actual message of the presenter was that day. I kept hearing about that. And so from that standpoint, I guess where I'm coming from is saying, look, there are certain things. Paul says it this way.
Right.
All things are permissible, not everything is beneficial.
Yeah.
And so let's just really look as a college and say, what does your generation have to say that really is profound? And is it necessary to have the profanity? And I would say if there is something that is kind of in a gray area, whatever, that's why we have this agreement. You sit down with me, you sit down with the VP of Student Life. We're on the same page. We want you to have the freedom of expression. In fact, that's part of the very first line of the performance agreement. It says it's very important to the administration of PUC that you are supported in your endeavors to express your talents in creative arts in ways that create personal memories and measurable successes. We want you to succeed. We don't want you to feel censored. But if it's a performance on campus, we just want to be smart. We don't want to fight battles that you don't need to fight. We'd rather you have a greater success by not having people down your throat by saying that was inappropriate. Right. We want to be able to support you.
Now, I have a quick question. Who is going to be this objective third party that's going to take a look at it and judge the performance or the medium by saying this is appropriate or this is not appropriate?
Right.
Ultimately, the performer comes and sits with myself, and is welcome to sit with Dr. Paulson as well. I think because of the nature of being the author of this document, I think a lot of people have been coming to me after we have this sit-down talk. It is really interesting to see the liberation that they have on their face and the excitement that this really is something. And I'm telling you, no other school has the guts to do this yet, because this really has the potential from the more conservative, legalistic element to say, oh, the school's going downhill. No, we're finally making sense. We're not fighting the trivial little fights of, is it okay to do something that's modern? What we're talking about is, what are you saying? Right. And so I think that this is something that possibly other schools are going to look at and say, is this a model that we need to adopt? But I guarantee most schools won't.
One other thing that I wanted to bring up, right here at the end, it says, PUC administration and sponsors also reserve the right to interrupt the performance if a violation of the agreement occurs.
Yes.
Now, like, I can get that if something is, is getting out of hand and it needs to be stopped.
Yeah.
But take for instance, something is going on that maybe it is becoming very subjective, because if you are part of the administration or you are a sponsor, what is the definition of that? Because is it just like any faculty member who is like going by a performance or going by like a musical thing, see something, and them personally they are offended by that, even though the students who are being there are maybe being blessed or getting something out of it, and they run up, shut it down.
And that's why I'm so excited about this document, because up until this time, any faculty member can come and say, that it just sounds like chainsaws in there. I can't understand the words and whatever, and literally pull the plug.
Okay.
What this does, I don't care if you are playing a chainsaw or what you're playing, as long as it fits within these 5 things, you don't have to, as a performer, have the stress anymore of performing in fear of someone coming and pulling the plug.
Okay.
As long as you're with this, literally, if that happens, the hammer comes down on the administrator or faculty who has pulled the plug, because they're within policy.
Okay.
The faculty member is not within policy for pulling the plug, because everything that's happening here. The reason why we have to have that last line, and for me, I hate having to have it, but the reason is for the classic case of an individual who says, well, this is the last performance I ever want to have, and so I'm gonna shock everybody. I'm just gonna blah, 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 you know, and just spew a bunch of stuff that no one needs to hear. If that happens, you have to have a line like that. Otherwise, they'll say, well, it's nowhere in here. How can you shut down my program? And so literally, it's for that, you know, 1/1000th of a percentile person who, you know, just will want to ruin it for everybody just because they don't have compassion for the rest of the school. So unfortunately, we do have to have a line like that, but I hope that you can see, and I hope the listeners see, I hope all the bands and the drama and the video people can understand what we're trying to do. And if you knew my last 15 years, you'll see that this has been a document 15 years in the workings, because I experienced myself personally being the target of individuals who would say that what I was doing was profane, that what I was doing had no part in ministry, had no part in a Christian school, and all I was trying to do was say something relevant to the current generation. And so I hope that I know there's going to be people who have fear that it's more control. If they'll go back to the handbook, they'll see that this is really, that there's nothing here that's new. It's just we've spelled it out. This is what we're measuring content by.
I wanted to play a little bit of devil's advocate, which I'm sure in your ministerial work they trained you against. So I like to pull a little ace out of my sleeve.
Nice.
Shakespeare.
Uh-huh.
You mentioned Shakespeare, and right, a lot of his plays deal with violence. Hamlet's like vengeance. There's drinking. There's
sexual content.
alcohol, sexual innuendo.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Some of it plays all out to be good. I mean, Shakespeare used a simple trick of called the bed trick, where like Romeo and Juliet, where he used that several times, where they got married, and you can't do anything about it. What I'm saying is, what about those kind of plays?
Yeah.
What about Shakespeare plays? What about those classics that?
Yeah, exactly, because we don't want to get into the role of censoring great works of art like that. I think that's why you'll notice that the wording says, "Are you promoting drinking?" I think a lot of what Shakespeare shows, and I've seen just about everything Shakespeare is written in dramatic format. He shows, you know, what the drunk guy is like. It's not attractive. You know, he's not promoting alcohol. He's showing the effects of someone who's under the influence of alcohol. What we're looking at is, does it promote? Are the students looking at that and saying, I'm going to go drink now since I've seen this, or okay, I'm going to go have sex now, or am I going to go do something that goes against the Christian lifestyle? You're not promoting it. What you're doing is great works of art. And I think there's a good reason why Shakespeare has stood the test of time, is because he does have something important to say. And when you see, what is it? It's not just entertainment. That's why Shakespeare has become a classic. It's because every single thing that he wrote, everything he produced, it was saying something very important. And if you understand the way his use of analogy and metaphor in the dramatic arts, you really get what he's trying to say. And his content actually really is something that promotes, you know, what we want our students to be exposed to. So,
You were pretty good with that one. Let me look at my cards here. Throw out a wild card. Improv. Improv. Now, improv. This is. I hesitate to bring this one up because I'm very fond with improv, because I mention it because there is no content, so to speak. There are specific games that are played, but the content is made up. Some of it we ask the audience, some of it we bring